Like mother, like daughter. In this episode, it is revealed that Ultier has given up all her life force, all the remaining life force from her life to the point where she's about to die of old age, to reset time back for 1 minute. And the sad thing is that this episode really hits you so hard in the Kokoro. It does. It makes it sad is because Ultier, as we know as a character, has come so far. The character development for Ultier is just amazing. Looking at her character and looking what she has done since her introduction and been to this point to where she can look up in the sky and she doesn't feel sadness, angry anymore. She doesn't blame herself. She doesn't hate herself anymore. Pretty much, that character development for Ultier is just amazing. Her character has accomplished pretty much everything that it needs to accomplish. She is pretty much done as a character, and that's a sad and happy thing. It really is. And I really respect how Mashima wrote her character. It was a really great way to write her character, and the way you see her just look up in the sky, the symbolism with that, to when she just doesn't feel angry anymore with herself, and she can kind of wash away her sins. It felt so fucking emotional. It was a really emotional episode. I was honestly very sad. They even added in some filler scenes to make the scenes even sadder. Like, for instance, the beginning part of this episode, that was pretty much filler. It was filler, but it was necessary filler. It was filler that was really good. It made more emotion and impact and mystery in this episode. And it's so sad. It's so sad how Ultier can't be fixed. She's dead, pretty much. Even though she's walking around, she gave up all her life to be an old woman, a wandering old woman. And you gotta think about that. From her perspective, how sad is that? I mean, at the very least, she has some form of, I guess, self-gratification. She now understands what she's done, what she's accomplished. She saved a bunch of people. She saved Gray. And the sad thing you get from this episode is that Ultier gave up her life for Gray. And Gray technically knows this at the end of this episode, mother and daughter sacrificing themselves for Gray's sake. And that right there is a lot of impact to this episode. And I felt like this episode was just so fucking good. It was a really, really good episode that had some great emotions. Animation quality looked good for the most part, besides some certain scenes in the background when characters were far off from the scene. The animation did not look that good. But besides that, I felt like they nailed the animation when it counted, especially the up-close personal shots of, Ultier, or getting to see Melody, or, Jarl, in this, getting to see their up-close shots. The animation looked really fucking good, but when it was off, far in the distance, like I said, it just didn't look that good. Now, the music score of this episode really sold me on the emotions. There's one thing Fairy Tail always does well, and I've noticed that since the very beginning of Fairy Tail when I first started the series, and the Tower of Heaven arc, is that the music of Fairy Tail, the emotional music, knows when to come on, especially in this episode. The emotional music of when it's revealed that Ultier is the old woman, and you just see her, reading the letter with her voice, and you realize, you're like, oh my god, it's so fucking sad. It is a really, really sad scene. And so, when you see that, you feel so sorry for her as a character. But truthfully, are you sorry because she set out and accomplished what she accomplished? She feels like she's in peace now. Her character does. So she could die happy, technically. So I guess there's no better way to die as a character or a person than to die peacefully, happy, like you set out and accomplished something, and like you can wash away your sins of what you've done in the past. And so, in that entire moment, this episode, I think I want to give it a 9 out of 10. I'm not joking. I want to give this episode a 9 out of 10. It was a very good episode, and it was one of those Fairy Tail episodes that know how to play with your feel button. Now, for the most part, there's a lot of foreshadowing in this episode, especially on this other organization called Tartarus or whatever, which is really intriguing. It's brought up by Jarl and Darl and Bolt. They're talked about in this episode, and saying, will they move soon? So we find out about this other group, most likely foreshadowing later on into future events and future arcs of Fairy Tail. And we also see Cobra say that he heard some form of talk, like he was hearing something, and it talked about the gate of the underworld. So what the hell could that be? So, truthfully, a lot of good setup in this episode, some great emotions, great Fairy Tail episode, and it did a good damn job. It was a damn good episode that managed to get me, and the filler scenes they added in definitely added a lot more impact than I think even the manga did. Speaking of the manga, I have to mention this now. They cut out a chapter from Fairy Tail. They actually cut out a chapter. Now, you're probably wondering, like, oh shit, no, it's nothing bad. It's nothing bad what they cut out. I noticed, you know, the studio is currently animating Fairy Tail. They've been censoring a lot of fan service. I've been noticed that a lot. But they censored out this entire chapter that was technically, like, a bathhouse chapter. They censored that out, like it hasn't even been shown in the anime. And it should have already happened at the time when you saw King Natsu last episode. So, they've definitely cut out that and probably censored it because, you know, I'm guessing they're just cutting it out because it was a pointless chapter, to be completely honest. So, tell me your thoughts on this episode of Fairy Tail. I mean, did you love it? Did you hate it? What was your favorite moments about it? Did you get emotional? Let me know in the comments below. I love all of you so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.